Okay, so for you at home, what we're doing is we're taking a look at a form that's, we have a select group with the name of day, and what we want to do is we want to have options for each day of the month. So, for instance, using PHP, using non-PHP code, let me move this down. The first day would look like that, right? And option 2/option would be the second day, all the way down to 31. So what we're trying to do here now is use PHP to make that happen. Okay, so it's a for loop. Can somebody help me with the details of the for loop? Okay, so you chose X. I choose I, J, and K for my loop variables. I don't know why. It's just, it dates back to BASIC, Fortran, all those old languages. You know, back when my hair was full, my prospects were bright. Okay, so I'm going to start I equals, $i equals the first element, which is 1, right? Semicolon. $I. This is the so this is the starting point. The next one is the termination, where we terminate, which is at 31. Let's just do 31. So tell me exactly what to put here. All at once, please.
31.
Less than, well, you can't just put 31. I want 31. It's more readable. So tell me what to put in there. Well, that's the term. We want to continue this while it is less than or equal to 31. More readable than less than 32. Marginally, but and then $. This is the incrementer, right? So I either plus or plus equals 1. Plus is pretty standard. Okay, so that'll do the loop, and then if you just print out I, and we can even do this. I'm going to print out I and put it in quotes with a \n for new line, just to get all my numbers on a new line. Now this is not the correct answer, but it's getting towards the answer, all right? And Jen, this is sort of what you had, I think. So, okay, so let me save it. All right, and let's take a look at what it ends up looking like. Okay, so it sort of looks okay. But the problem is we don't have any options, do we? You have to wrap it, right? So if you view the source code, though, the numbers are there. All right, we have the 1 through the 31, so our loop worked correctly. It's just a matter of getting it to display correctly. And you were absolutely right. If you want it to display correctly, wrap it in option. Option, $i/option. And it's a good idea to put the \n, especially if you want your HTML source code to be readable. But this should take care of it. Well, does it look like this? Okay, so there's probably something wrong inside your source code. I could take a look at it in a second. All right. So if we save it, I'm not so sure I don't have a syntax error, but I'm going to refresh F5, and now it gives me the choice to select a day, 1 to 31, and submit it. And when we submit it, we're actually submitting back to the current form, but it's not doing anything with it. It's just kind of throwing it away. It's ignoring it. So what can we do? How can we actually present maybe down here what the value was that we selected? Okay, so we have choose a day, select a day. We're submitting to the current form. So now the question is, what if I wanted to print you chose day 20? All right. Okay, good. So go back to your source code. Now that would occur after the form, right? So down here, open up another PHP tag while I go and fix other people's program. And here's what I want you to do. If you selected a day, print, you selected 22, you selected 31. If you didn't select a day, print out you haven't selected a day. All right, so the solution that we wanted here is note, first of all, that the form action is itself. When we don't have an action, the assumption is whatever the form data is going to be posted back to the same file, and our method is post. So it's a post, $_post, and the name of the element or the data is day. And so we're dealing with this data right here. Post sub day, which is an array. Post is an array. Day is the key. The value is going to be whatever option we printed. Now, you might want to do something like this. Day num equals post sub day. It doesn't matter, but it's shorter, it's more concise. Maybe makes it a little bit more readable. So day num is equal to post sub day. As a debugging element, all I would do is I would just print out day num at this point. I would definitely but before I start getting into too much logic, just make sure you got the right idea. So print out day num and see what happens. So I'm going to go back to my form. I'm not sure if I saved it. Yeah, number is 3. Number is 7. Number is blank. All right. Now I want to get rid of that number is blank by an if statement. And it's as simple as checking if day num. In other words, if it's a true statement, if it's not a blank, print it out. Otherwise, print please choose day. Right. Again, if day num is populated, if it has a numerical value, then day num has a truth value of true, and we'll print out the number. If it's blank, it'll be false, and so we'll do the else block, which is please choose a day. And that's all based on the fact that up in our form, we chose that to set the select a day choice to have an option value of blank. If I didn't do this, I wouldn't be able to use that logic at the end. All right, so make sure you understand that doing this makes this logic work. All right, and it's a common, like I said, trick that programmers and designers use to make their programs functional. Okay, so it's your first introduction to self-submitting forms. And you can probably even go further than this. You could probably verify that the day is not greater than 31, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so consider that. How would you verify or validate that we're choosing an actual day, that we're not trying to put in the number 64 or 102, right? And I'll leave that to another discussion. Okay, so the next task was change the for loop to a while loop. Well, we should be able to keep the print statement exactly the same. Let's throw in a condition. Now, my first choice would be to do a while loop where I is less than or equal to 31. Again, I think that's clearer to read. Some of you had different choices. That's fine. Now, if that's the case, what if I were to just run this program right now? as it stands. Yeah, first of all, we didn't initialize I. Now, in PHP, that's okay not to initialize a value, but it just assumes it's blank. It just assumes it's actual null. And null is, in PHP's warped sense of truth and value, null is less than or equal to 31. So it's going to go into that loop, and it's going to keep repeating and keep repeating. So if I were to save this and run it, what you're going to end up with is a loop. Now, you can't really tell. I don't know what happened, actually, to be honest. Oh, you know what? I changed the file to option 1 or option 2. OK, so what's happening that you can't really tell is the program is stuck in an infinite loop. And there should be a stop button somewhere. Does anybody see a stop button?
I was looking for it.
It's which one? Oh, right there.
Where was it?
There was an X. But I just broke Firefox. All right, so yeah, it's not responding. That was definitely it, huh? The X. All right, so infinite loops are not good, especially when it's browser based. So I'm going to actually probably have to close this thing down. Unfortunately, didn't really want to do that, because the program just kept on sending option to the browser, and the browser didn't know what to do with it. So I got to bring that back up. And I don't want to run the same thing. So let's get rid of that infinite loop. The way to do that is to make sure that I increases in value each time through the loop. And I choose to do it after the print statement, and that's just my choice. It's not anything that's better or worse. Some people chose to increment I before. I choose afterwards. I like to take care of my business and then increment at the end. That's just how I prefer it. And then one final thing we have to do is remember to initialize I to its starting value, which is 1, right? We want it to enter the loop at 1. So look at the logic here now. I starts out at 1. 1 is less than 31. So it prints out 1, option 1, and then increments to 2. And we loop back up, and then it prints out 2, loop back up. Eventually, this becomes I is equal to 30, increments to 31, passes, prints out 31, increments to 32, comes back in up to the top here and says, hey, I'm done, and jumps out. So if we wanted to, when all is said and done, if we print out the value of I at the end of this, it's actually going to print out a 32. It takes on the value of 32, but it just never enters the while loop that last time. All right. So verify that this works, and it will. I'm going to save it. I'll check it. I saved it under option 2, so I'd have 2 different files, and sure enough, it works out.